Hello, everybody. Welcome back to PDPreps podcast. He's Gus Morris. I'm Keenan O'Doherty. I believe this is episode 25. Back again, another week, another fun weekend of football, Gus. Where we're gonna dive into it all. Have some updates with as far as the playoff projections go. Do the rankings, preview predictions. If you've been here for a while, you know how things go. If you're new, welcome. But let's just get right into it, Gus. It was a pretty fun weekend of football, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. I was at two pretty good games this week. Our game of the week on Saturday was St. Vincent Ukiah. We'll talk about that one here in a second. I was also out at Cardinal Newman Rancho Cotati. Interesting game as well over there. But yeah, I mean, kind of down the stretch here. Only a couple weeks left of the regular season, but it's really kind of becoming clear. A lot of the, these league races are coming down to these last couple weeks of the season. VVAL is looking like a 2-team race now all of a sudden when we thought it was a 4-team race now. MBL Oak is still on track. MBL Redwood looks like it's about all wrapped up. But yeah, it's week 9 was definitely very big as far as a lot of those storylines go.
Very telling, yeah.
Big time. So I guess we'll jump right into it then. But we'll start with the game of the week.
We both were there. It was this big of a game, but
I know. Actually, it was funny. I mean, that was definitely a who's who of the high school sports scene over there at St. Vincent on Saturday. 100%. There were some old Newman people there, watching Paul Cronin over at Ukiah. There were some, I know some Windsor coaching staff was there. There was Casa Grande, Rancho, everyone. The who's who. It was definitely the place to be if you're a high school sports fan on Saturday. And the game delivered. Great game. Ukiah goes to Petaluma, comes out winners 25-21 over St. Vincent. Crazy game. St. Vincent was up 21-0 at halftime. Ukiah shut him out over the second 2 quarters, outscored him 25-0. And yeah, first time that St. Vincent has lost on their home turf since September 2019. So 22-game winning streak snapped. And yeah, Ukiah also kind of a big storyline coming to this game, but Ukiah has not won a league title since 1985, and now they're 1 win away from doing that. So the Paul Cronin effect is very real over there at Ukiah. Again, first year at Windsor, leads them to an NCS championship game. All of the exciting drama that happened that year. And then this year, first year at Ukiah, and he has them on the cusp of breaking a nearly 40-year, league title drought. So pretty crazy turnaround for Ukiah, but pretty crazy turnaround for them in the game as well. Again, like I said, 21-0 at half. St. Vincent was just really kind of controlling the game on both sides of the ball, scoring their first 3 possessions, a couple late yardage scores too. There was one play that I thought was the backbreaker just before halftime. St. Vincent was backed up. It was 2nd and 39, and St. Vincent was inside their own 40. Literally, it was penalties just backed them all the way up, and they got a couple good chunk plays, and had a 4th and 3 at Ukiah's 26, and then they score a touchdown. And you're thinking how does that happen? Second and 40 essentially, and you give up a touchdown 3 plays later. That is just kind of inexcusable. So I think it was kind of looking like a little doom and gloom there for Ukiah at halftime, but man, it was complete turnaround in the second half. Ukiah, when it was all said and done, Ukiah had held St. Vincent to 25 yards of total offense in the second half. Only 2 first downs, and they had 3 interceptions of quarterback Gabe Casanovas. First half, Gabe Casanovas was perfect. 7 for 7, 159, 3 touchdowns. You could not have asked for a better start. And then Ukiah, whatever adjustments that Cronin made in the second half.
That's what makes him so good, man. He's a king of second half adjustments.
Could not have worked out any better for them. But yeah, second half, St. Vincent comes out, scores. Ukiah comes out, scores on their first, I believe it was their first possession. Sophomore quarterback Bo David took a little bit to kind of figure out the defense and stuff. Solid quarterback too. He definitely kind of throws a bit of a high jump ball, and Ukiah has some receivers who can go up and get it, but that didn't quite work out super well in the first half. Second half it did. Tony Zacharias had a 32-yarder to open up the scoring in the second half, and then right off the bat, St. Vincent comes right back down and throws a pick 6. Tyson Ramos gets it 30-yard, 30-yard return. And all of a sudden from 21-0, it's 21-12. And like, it's been like 2 minutes. So it's like, all right, game on here, folks. Not much else happened the rest of the third, but just a bunch of kind of empty possessions going back and forth. Ukiah had the ball end of the third, going into the fourth. They have a nice drive kind of going. They get down to like, St. Vincent's like 2 or 3, a couple penalties back them up, a good tackle for loss backs them up. They're at 3rd and goal at the 10. And then David, runs a nice little, little fake or something and, sneaks in for a 10-yard touchdown 3rd down. So big play there. That made it 21-19. Couple empty possessions, go by for both teams. And then St. Vincent, I think it was like 6:30, I want to say, left or something like that, or like 7 minutes. They're forced to punt the ball back to Ukiah. Bad snap, goes over the punter's head. Kind of lucky actually that Ukiah didn't get a safety on it. But even still, St. Vincent, St. Vincent, recovers the ball. But again, it was 4th down, and Ukiah gets the ball at St. Vincent's 2-yard line, and they score 1 play later. And so at that point, that touchdown from Shea Parrish made it 25-21. And again, this is like coming down like, the home stretch here, the final few minutes. So the comeback was complete. Ukiah had the lead, but again, there's still time left. St. Vincent is a very good team, and a ton of talent, obviously, on both sides of the ball. And the game was far from over. But yeah, kind of, the last few minutes kind of played out the exact same way as the entire second half did. Ukiah's defense, clutched up, forced the St. Vincent punt. Ukiah gets the ball back with 2 minutes left. They have to punt it back. So St. Vincent actually gets the ball back at midfield. There was Ukiah had a pretty terrible punt. I think it only netted like 3 yards. So St. Vincent gets the ball back at midfield with 20 seconds left, no timeouts. Need kind of a miracle play, or a miracle couple plays to to score a touchdown and win the game. And instead, Omari Phillips Porter, OPP as you like to call him, gets the game-winning interception with about 15 seconds left. 3rd pick of the second half for Ukiah. So yeah, that was it. 25-21, crazy turnaround again. Story of 2 halves to say the least. Just a really gritty win from Ukiah. They're 4th in a row. They're 1 win away from winning the NBL Redwood title. Again, St. Vincent has won the last 2 years pretty convincingly. This is also the first time that Ukiah, I think, has beaten St. Vincent since St. Vincent joined the NBL too. So they were 0-3, I think, coming into this game. So huge win for Ukiah, especially for playoff purposes too. I think Ukiah was sitting at there at like number 8 in Division 3, and now they're up to Division to number 2. And Ukiah does play Piner this week, and we don't want to discount anybody or anything, but I think after this week's result, I think it's I think Ukiah should take care of business. And honestly, again, if they a win over Piner on this week, Ukiah is hosting a first-round playoff game.
Which we've talked about it so many times already, but it could be coming into fruition. We might have just manifested.
I know. We'll talk about the kind of playoff projections and stuff now. Heading into these final couple weeks, and there wasn't a lot of changes, this week between all of our divisions and all of our teams, but there were a couple ones that I think we should touch on.
Yeah, we want to focus on.
Yeah, but anyway, crazy game for Ukiah. Again, Gabe Casanovas, great in the first half. Not so great in the second half. Again, very, very good player, but just, Ukiah had a great scheme in the second half. But Jack Ellis had a couple of receiving touchdowns. I think he had the first 2 of the game. St. Vincent scored in the first 3 plays of the game too, and it was kind of like, oh man, it was looking like maybe a St. Vincent runaway there. I think for the first couple first few quarters. Then obviously things change, but yeah, Bo David, not his best passing day, but 114 yards, yards through the air, passing touchdown, rushing touchdown. Shea Parrish, 60 rushing yards, touchdown, interception on defense. Tony Zacharias had the receiving touchdown, and then interceptions for Parrish, Tyson Ramos, and Phillips Porter. So, Keenan. Keenan, again, you were there too. You've seen both these teams play, but yeah, what do you think about Saturday's game?
Yeah, freaking bizarre. Obviously, I was up in the press box, because I was doing the analysis piece and some other stuff. That's your first time seeing Bo David, right? Because yep. Opening, because he didn't start until after the Casa game. That's right. Yeah, yep. He's coming into his own, for sure. But that was, I mean, that was crazy. Once I saw that punt go 3 yards, I like rushed to the window and I
Yeah,
was like, wait a minute, here we go.
game's over.
This
Yeah.
could be something. But then, because you have a good vantage point up there in the press box at St. Vincent's press box, you can kind of you can see a lot more. But once I saw OPP line up in that roving safety role, I was like, oh boy, they're something's gonna happen. And I told the guys in the press box, I'm like, just watch out for two. And lo and behold, he gets the pick. But man, that's crazy. I mean, that was a bizarre game. I wanted to ask you though, just what was it as a reporter covering the game? What was your mood at halftime when it's a 21-0 game?
Well, so I didn't think it was. I mean, again, I was talking with some people on the sidelines and stuff too, and everyone's like, "Oh man, I didn't think it was this close." Like, I might head out, and I'm like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Like, there were a
Yeah,
couple of plays. There were like, I mean, again, St. Vincent converted against some big kind of late down plays to to score their points, and I mean, again, even on the 2nd and 38 or 2nd and 39, I talked about. I think on like the 3rd down play, there was a ball that very easily could have been like a pick six for Ukiah that was just, luckily, I think the two Ukiah defenders like ended up colliding into each other, and St. Vincent ended up with the ball and got a big gain. But, just like one or two bounces kind of like that. And then again, a stop for Ukiah, on a 3rd down where St. Vincent, ended up scoring. I mean, there were a few plays that definitely it's like one thing goes differently, and that's like a 14-7 or even like a 7-7 or 14-14 game. So 21-0, no, definitely not. So 21-0, I was kind of like, I'm like, yeah, this is really like, I'm like, I expected it to be closer, but it also feels closer than it was.
Sure.
Also, I'm going to take some credit too. I was on the Ukiah sideline in the first half when they got outscored 21-0. Second half, I was over on the St. Vincent sideline when they got outscored. So whatever sideline I was on, they never scored a touchdown. So
here we go.
So the PD curse is still
no. We're gonna rebrand it the Gus Morris curse. I'm telling you that right now. Well, to be fair, like I did talk to Trent Trent Herzog, St. Vincent's head coach, after the game, and he told me, he was like, yeah, 21 points was never going to be enough.
Right.
To beat Ukiah, especially with Cronin making he's like the king of second half adjustments too. Like that's what makes him so good. So, 21 points was not going to be enough. But hey, man, I mean, but these kind of games are what we're here for, right? I mean, it's just entertaining throughout. St. Vincent completely packed. So it's but yeah, I mean, amazing game, and I'm sure the St. Vincent faithful is hoping for a Pioneer win, but give credit to Ukiah. I mean, they're rolling, like you said.
Yep. No, they're going to be dangerous out, I think, come playoff time. But yeah, it was definitely a good game. But also was not the only good Petaluma football game that we saw over the weekend. So
nice transition, Gus.
The master of transitions here. Game that you were at Friday night: Casa Grande 51, American Canyon 30. Not a score I thought either of us would have predicted. Also, not as close as the final score might indicate either.
No, not at all. This was a game where Casa's offense just went absolutely berserk. I mean, they had a great game plan. They saw what Petaluma did to American Canyon in terms of running the football, and they did that right from the get-go. Zach Carrero was just chunking out big gain after big gain. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half. It was a quick 14-0 lead to Casa Mercado found Oscar Cooney. And obviously Zach Carrera ran it in, and the defense also sacked Mason Harris in the end zone for a safety right as the horn sounds for the end of the first quarter. So we're looking at a 16-0 first quarter, Gus, after first quarter. And second quarter, not much difference. Zach Carrera, 2 TDs. American Canyon finally got on the board. Mason Harris found Jalen Rocker for a 28-yard score. It was a beautiful pass. Man, Mason Harris is really going to be one of the area's better quarterbacks in the next year or two. I'm calling that right now because he's got all the talent in the world. But then Casa, right before the horn for halftime, answered with a 3-play, 16-second drive that ended with Mercado finding Gavin Pandolfi across the middle. So halftime, we're looking at 37-6, I believe it was the score.
Yeah.
But then
Not again. Because I was over at the Newman Rancho game, and we were kind of looking at the scores, being like, "Wait, what the hell?" Like, we did not expect that kind of lopsided result.
yeah, it was crazy. And what's even more bizarre is the last two or three American Canyon possessions of the half, they just abandoned pretty much all their entire playbook and just decided to do direct snap to the running back dive for like the entire time.
Interesting.
And you know, I was on Costa's sideline, and some of the people were questioning. They're like, that's not going to get you any points right before half. It was like 2 minutes left,
Hmm.
but so they just wanted to get to halftime and get a clean slate. Fortunately for them, Costa coming out of half, they just kept their foot on the gas,
Yeah.
increasing their lead to 51-6 just at the start of the
Oh
fourth quarter.
boy.
51-6. I mean, 10 minutes, just under 11 minutes left in the game. Mercado had one passing, one rushing in that little span there. But you know, American Canyon, it seemed like they finally woke up, seemed like things were able to work for them a little bit. They answered with a Webster Burks kickoff return TD right after that. And, you know, they onside kick, they recover, go down, score. Another onside kick, they recover again, and then they go down and score yet again.
Hmm.
So you know, that's where you get the 30 points from. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's a little too late kind of deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a weird. I mean, like I understand not trying to keep it at, like, giving
with the
yourself
running
any
clock too,
competitive
might
chance,
add,
right? With the
yeah,
running
you know,
clock, I don't know. I mean, that kind of seems like you know, I mean, again, I guess you would try to want to stay competitive, but it's also like, I feel like safety is could be a concern. I kind of in those last minutes there, you know.
yeah, things did get chippy in the third quarter. I'm not gonna lie. You know, both teams are getting a little chippy and pushing, you know, some shoving because Mason Harris, you know, was getting sacked quite a decent amount. Costa's defense
Mm.
had, I believe, 5 sacks on the night. Marco
Wow.
Novoa had 3. So he stepped up in a big way. He's only a junior. Um, but uh, but yeah, so it did get chippy. But anyways, yeah, Mercado had a pretty efficient game. 11 for 20, 188 yards passing with 3 touchdowns, 2 rushes for 53 yards, and 1 TD. That 1 TD came on a 43-yard scamper. Zach Carrera, 18 carries, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns. Although those 3 touchdowns were all in the first half, like I talked about defensive. Like I said just now, 5 sacks. And Marco Novoa had 3. To be fair, like when you look at the stats from the game, though, American Canyon statistically still had a pretty solid game. You know, Mason Harris, 6 of 12, 101 yards, 2 TDs passing, 10 rushes, 83 yards. Oyani Castillo, their star running back, 16 rushes, 84 yards. You know, Webster Burks had 3 receptions, 52 yards, 1 TD. So if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, you wouldn't think it was the worst game for American Canyon by any means. But then you look at the
Sure.
box score and you realize they went down 51-6 at the beginning of the fourth, and that's kind of all she wrote. So, Gus, we talked about it last week, and we talked about it the last 2 weeks. But this 3-game gauntlet that's at Casa's in right now, they passed another test, and obviously we'll talk about that Egg Bowl, which is going to be our game of the week. We'll talk about it later on, but you know, they two big tests for Casa Grande passed. So
I
this Casa Grande team is legit.
I gotta say, I don't think too, like, looking at, you know, kind of like midway through the season, that we would have said, like, man, I think Petaluma might be the best team in that 3-game stretch right there. But here we are. You know, I mean, they,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Casa took care of Vintage. You know, I mean, again, blew out American Canyon, and now Petaluma is like kind of the last obstacle kind of in their way from winning the VBL title here. So, yeah, a lot's going to be on the line this weekend. And like you said, too, game of the week, 3 p.m. Out there on Saturday at Petaluma High School. Going to be an awesome atmosphere. So we will definitely be out there. We'll talk about that game more here in a second. But yeah, I mean, what do we? I mean, again, like, I think at this I think at this point of the year, I mean, again, we've kind of had a bit of, some critiques about Casas, I guess not great strength of schedule, but we can no longer say that. I mean, they have beaten some
But
good teams the last couple of weeks.
well, they're also doing well, like you said about the things strength of schedule. They're also doing what they need to do against maybe
For
those
sure.
lesser teams on their schedule. They
For
they
sure.
are statement after statement after statement,
Yeah.
which is what all great teams do. You can't, you know what I'm saying. But
Good
yeah,
teams
man. I
win,
mean,
good
Costa,
teams win, and good teams win, and great teams cover. So
yeah, yeah. There you go. A little betting action for you. But Gus, like you said, to start off the pod, you were on double duty this week. On Friday night as well, you covered a pretty good game and over there in Roner Park. Cardinal Newman came out, beat Rancho Cotati 28-13. Obviously, you were there. Why don't you go ahead, take it away?
yeah, this is the first time we've covered Newman this year. Obviously after all of the pregame or the preseason, shenanigans, I guess we could call them. Me getting kicked off the field, lawsuit against, Sanchez, the coach. First time I talked to Sanchez too. I'll talk about that, once I kind of get through the recap here. But yeah, it was a good game. I guess for kind of the first half, but yeah, I mean, again, this is our first time seeing Newman, kind of getting our first impressions of them. Again, we've seen all the, the highlights, and we've read what all the opposing coaches have to say, how good their line is, how good Holman is, how good their defense is. Yeah, and I mean, again, all that was pretty much on display, in this game on Friday. So, but I will say though, Rancho definitely made it a game early. Had a, again, knew that they kind of had to control the ball, not, limit what Holman, was going to be able to do.
Sure.
Also, this is the first game too that quarterback Jacob Pruitt, has, played. He returned from a sprained ankle injury. You could tell he was still kind of tentative on it. He wasn't really able to break off many long runs. And again, credit to to Newman's defense as well. But yeah, I mean, again, early on though, it was like first drive, Rancho went down, pretty run heavy drive, and they scored on their, scored a touchdown, pretty, and they made it look relatively easy too. And it was like, okay, like, hey, we got a game here. And I mean, kind of looking back at Newman's schedule the last month, they really haven't been challenged very much. I think they've won by an average 40 points a game, or for the last 4 or 5 games. So this was kind of going to be one of their first big tests, kind of coming down the stretch here, especially before the Windsor game, in 2 weeks, and then heading into playoffs as well. So they kind of needed to have a fight. And Holman kind of told me as much too. He's like, he was like, yeah, after the game, he was saying yeah, this is the first time, we've had a fight, and it's good to see, to see that, that we have that fight in us too, and that we can, come out on top, when we're challenged. So definitely kind of a good kind of gritty battle, here for Newman. But, first half, Rancho led 13-7. Kind of a weird first half. I mean, again, Cougars controlled possession, for I think the final 10 minutes of the second quarter. This is back-to-back games now where I've covered a 10-minute. I've seen a 10-minute drive. Vintage had one, a week ago, and now Rancho had one here to close out the second quarter. But yeah, 7-0 to start for Rancho. Newman had a quick 3 and out. All 3 passes, all incompletes, and then. Rancho went 3 and out, and then Newman was like, all right, we're feeding our workhorse here. Zach Holman, 7 carries, 69 yards on the drive, ends with a touchdown. At the end of the first half, Holman had all 100 yards of offense for Newman. I mean,
oh wow.
At the end of the game too. So Holman, again, a spoiler here, but he had 300 yards in the game, 4 touchdowns. 300 yards was a season high. But Newman as a team had 316 yards of total offense. So do the math there. I mean, Holman made up for 98% of their offense in this game. Kind of crazy.
That's bizarre.
But yeah, so 7-7 after 1. Rancho opens the second half with a 30-yard field goal, makes it 10-7. Very next drive for Newman, they get kind of into Rancho territory, and then Holman fumbles. First fumble of the year for him.
Wow.
So I mean, again, he's I think at this point he's a runaway candidate right now for our local player of the year. But yeah, I mean, again, even studs, sometimes fumble. So first fumble of the year, and that was the possession change that led to Rancho's 10-minute drive. But a couple breaks that Newman, I guess, kind of got, but Rancho Rancho was kind of deep into Newman territory, really good drive. I think they had converted on like 2 4th downs, like maybe a 3rd down, like really just kind of, just clutch plays. And then they had a 24-yard touchdown run, like beautiful play that would have given them a 17-7 lead, and it was called back due to a holding. And so that was a big gut punch, backs them up. Very next play, they actually run a beautiful trick play, a little kind of like a la the Casa Petaluma double pass thing that we saw last year in the Egg Bowl. Little ball over to Gio Ortiz, and he had a wide open receiver, and he just overthrows him. So it's kind of 2 bullets that Newman dodged, and then Rancho ended up settling for a field goal again and make it 13-7 before the half. So yeah, again, Rancho led 13-7, but kind of a very tenuous 13-7 lead, like really holding on to it. Kind of, like they kind of had to grit it out, and it wasn't, it didn't feel safe at all. And Rancho opens the second half. They gave Newman a short field actually to open the second half, and I was a little confused by that. But yeah, I mean, Newman capitalized, took it down, quick score for Homan, 14-13 lead. That's kind of where things stood up until the 4th, 14-13 still.
So that was the only score in the 3rd then.
Only score of the 3rd. So both teams both teams offenses kind of stalled out, a bunch of plays that, didn't really, or a bunch of drives that, didn't really go anywhere, a bunch of punts. Going into the 4th, Rancho actually opened it with an interception, like right at their own goal line. I thought it was a touchback actually, but the officials ruled that he was, that the I forgot who had it. Apologies, but that the defender was down on I think Rancho's 1 or 2. So Rancho starts its drive, basically backed up to its own territory, can't really get much positive yardage, has to punt it back, gives Newman a short field, and then they capitalize again. Another Homan touchdown. So at this point, it's 21-13 again, still a 1-possession game. Got 6:30 left. Rancho has the ball, and they start to get good yardage. Probably one of their best drives of the second half. They get deep in the Newman territory, and then fumble. And at that point, I think Newman gets the ball back with like 3 minutes left, and it's like, all right, couple, first down or 2, games over, and then Homan with the exclamation point kind of escapes free. Some Rancho players were trying to knock the ball loose for a fumble, and he broke about 3 or 4 tackles, and ended up having basically a free run for a 50-yard touchdown to basically put the game on ice there. So close. Rancho definitely gave it a battle, especially again not at full strength. Potu Hales out for a while. Pruitt still not at 100%, but credit to Rancho for kind of keeping it close. But yeah, credit to Newman too for just kind of keeping the foot on the pedal, or foot on the gas, and taking care of business how they should. So still undefeated, still 8-0. And looking like they're going to be heading into that Windsor game unbeaten on the year. So lots going to be riding on that game. But yeah, like I said, Homan, huge game for him. 30 carries, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. 300.
Such
it's nuts, crazy. I mean, again, he just give him the ball and get out of the way. I mean, again, Pruitt, not his best game, 6-12 passing, 52 yards, 9 rushes, 20, or not 9 carries for 20 yards rushing. Gio Ortiz had a solid game offensively, 125 yards on the ground, but no touchdowns. The one touchdown that Rancho had was on I think it was Gio Martinez, the other Gio. Had a little short run there. So yeah, I mean, again, about kind of what we expected, I think, with Rancho not quite at full strength, and Newman kind of rolling as they are right now. So that was again Newman taking care of business.
Yeah. So yeah, second week in a row that and I think Gary Hoteling, the Rancho Cotati head coach, told you this too, but it's kind of second week in a row where they have a great game plan and play so good for half, and then kind of the wheels fall off and they get a little fatigued and everything like that, and I mean, they are a little depleted. They do have a lot of injuries, but I did want to ask you. I do think Rancho will have a strong end of the season, but I did want to ask you. Obviously, you mentioned us covering Newman in person for the first time because we
So I don't want to. I mean, again. So yeah, first time talking with again head coach Richard Sanchez after the game. He actually came up to me again pregame, and again for I'm sure if you're watching this, everything what happened. But yeah, he kicked me off the field after we wrote a story about again him being sued by a former player. Anyway, still obviously a bit of a sore spot. But no, he comes up to me after the game, or before the game, actually shakes my hand, says hi. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I guess we're okay to, I'll talk to him after the game and stuff. So, after the game, I talked to Holman, good interview with him. I tracked down Sanchez, I talked to him, asked him about the game. But yeah, I mean, again, like we're, doing our jobs here. We haven't heard from Sanchez, since everything kind of went down, like our story about the lawsuit, he never, responded to comment. So, I asked him about the lawsuit just if he had any comment on it, anything to say, and he did not like me asking about it. But yeah, I mean, he declined comment, and that was that. So I know there's some Newman people being like, why would you ask him about that? Yeah, it's like, well, we're doing our jobs here, people. Like, we haven't heard from him. I didn't grill him. I didn't ask him any like really honestly hard questions. It was just like, do you have anything that you want to say about it? And he said no. So that's that. I mean, again, it's like we're just doing our jobs here. We were always going to ask him about it eventually. But again, now he's no comment officially. So now we'll kind of see how the season plays out. And I mean, again, as far as we know, the lawsuit and stuff is still pending. We'll see how that plays out and stuff too. But I mean, again, it's not something that we were going to ignore. So, but yeah, now that we have officially a no comment, it's like, all right, on the season, and we'll see how this thing plays out. So
sure, yeah, sure. But I was also going to ask, because I was like we said, this is our first time seeing Newman in person, and they've been blowing out teams left and right. But
yeah.
For like just your takeaways of how the number one team in our rankings like looks,
Oh yeah, no, I mean it was. I don't think it was probably their best game. Still a few penalties for sure. Defensively, again, they look pretty good. I guess the one thing I will say is that, they didn't pass the ball a ton. They kind of gave some looks both with I think it's Wyatt Connectley and then also Jason Coulter. Kind of, they've been doing that quite for the last couple of weeks here, is kind of giving both those guys reps. And yeah, I mean, I think they only attempted like, I want to say like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 passes maybe. I mean, again, it was the Zach Holman show, and that's kind of what their whole offense, has been this year. So,
yeah.
I mean, like you can say one dimensional, but also like when your one dimension is that good, like I totally understand why
your line is
that
good. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, their line is legit. They have some big dudes up there. So, I mean, again, all these things that we're hearing from other coaches being like, they have a JUCO line, they have a college level line. Like, it's definitely true.
The exact same, two coaches said
it was crazy. I mean,
thing.
literally the exact same thing. And I can attest to it for sure. So, and then again, they have some very, very good players on the, in the secondary as well too. So, and again, I know Rancho wasn't passing the ball a ton. They've been a very run heavy team. We kind of said that too. It's like, this is probably a bad matchup for Rancho. Rancho actually ran the ball decently well. I'd say in the, I actually all game. I mean, again, they didn't really pass the ball a ton, but
okay.
I think they had some pretty good schemes, dialed up, some different looks. I mean, again, it was a lot of Gio Ortiz. I think the Rancho line did an admirable job for probably being outmatched. But yeah, I mean, again, Newman's good. Newman is very, very good. So I think the Windsor game will be very interesting, because it'll be, I mean, again, probably their biggest test of the year, where Newman's. I mean, again, kind of looking across at the results that they've had, Casa actually now is looking like a very, very, very good win. Vacaville, I think, was pretty solid too, but maybe they're not as strong as we kind of thought they were. And then Vintage too, who barely beat Sonoma Valley this week. We'll talk about that one here in a second. Maybe that one's isn't looking as strong either. So the Windsor game will be very interesting. Kind of the clash of styles. Windsor has so many athletes on the outside, so much talent. But then this Newman team is just really solid up front. And again, like we said a lot, this is the line is a big determining factor, especially in high school football.
For sure.
So I think Newman's definitely still has the advantage there, but I don't know. I mean, again, the last couple of weeks, I've been saying like, I think Newman is the clear number one. And then I think after this week, I'm like, all right, maybe I think it is probably going to be a bit of a closer game than I think I thought. So I think it'll still be a pick 'em. I think it'll still be a pick 'em. I don't think it's going to be a runaway in one way or the other, but yeah, hold on to your hats for a good one in that one. So, which you will be covering too, by the way. So we've already kind of figured out our game of the week kind of schedule for the end of the year. And so I got to cover the Windsor Newman game last year. Great finish, but Keenan's going to be on it this year. So, You're in for a good one there, Mike.
Yeah, but I had the Egg Bowl last year, and you get the Egg Bowl this year, so
That is true. That is true.
flip flop. But yeah, let's talk about that vintage Sonoma Valley game, Gus, because that is absolutely insane. The ending to this came down to the final play. Sonoma Valley had a Hail Mary attempt, fell into the player's hands, and just ended up dropping it as he was coming to ground. So
He almost like, I mean, the video
I know.
that our reporter Jordan Lattimore got, who we're actually going to get Jordan on the pod, I think, here in the next couple of weeks, but kind of get him, let him get his feet wet a bit, understand the scene a little more.
Had a great video of it too.
He did. He was right in the back of the end zone, and he, I mean, again, Hail Mary pass from, Sonoma Valley kind of batted around, and then the, Sonoma Valley receiver was on the ground, and it barely slipped through his hands, as he's like laying down there. So,
bizarre.
I mean, I was watching the updates on this one, and I was
we
like,
all were.
Are you kidding me? Like, what is going on out there?
The Casa guys were like, what's going on? I'm like, well, Vintage and Sonoma Valley are tied 21-21 after the third quarter. And they're like, what? And everybody's like that. But how about this guy? How about a game from Trent Oman, Sonoma Valley's quarterback? 18 of 27, 253 yards, 4 touchdowns, passing. 2 of those to Hudson Giarita, of course, who had eight receptions, 120 yards, 2 TDs. I mean, when they're clicking, that's got to be one of the best duos in the area. When they're clicking, that is a dangerous duo for sure. Vintage, stuck to that running style that they've known and loved for the past however many years. Jeffrey Page, 28 carries, 183 yards, 3 touchdowns. Trevin Cullinane, 10 carries, 102 yards, which is pretty insane from that guy, almost 10 yards a carry. But I mean, Gus, Sonoma Valley, they had a chance to win it, but albeit a loss, 38-35. I mean, compared to what the results have been in the past, this is a huge step up for the Dragons.
I mean, again, we were all surprised that, that it was that close, and for good reason. I mean, again, the last 5 matches, Vintage has won in runaway victories. I mean, the closest game was a 24-point win for Vintage. I think that was even last year.
Oh, when that's
so for this to be a 3-point game and come down to the final play, and honestly, for Sonoma Valley to even be within a touchdown or 2 of this game is huge for Sonoma Valley.
Also at Vintage too.
At Vintage, no less. So I mean, again, we have talked, I think all season about how we were super high on Sonoma Valley. Maybe they might not win a lot of games, but we think they have a lot of talent. And at this point of the year, so they have a huge game coming up this week against Justin Siena. Basically to get into the playoffs. If they lose, they lose this game, they're probably again they'd have to upset Casa, and then they'd probably get in. But Justin Siena, though, they kind of have to win this game to like make it into playoffs. But I mean, again, we've really been kind of waiting them for to kind of hit their stride, and it seems like maybe they're this is a game that will definitely help them kind of going forward. But I mean, Trent Oman and Hudson Giarita are 2 guys that we've definitely so some of the better players, I think that don't get a lot of love, just because they're not on a great team. But I mean, Trent this year is 1,400 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Hudson's closing in at 1,000 receiving yards already. I mean, again, this is Trent's, I think, his 3rd year starting as varsity quarterback, but definitely his best season so far. And then, Hudson is definitely going to be one of the most skilled players, I think, to watch next year. For that Sonoma Valley team. So, and again, last year the VVAL here too. So I think Sonoma Valley going forward, in the new MBL, or football realignment leagues, I think they could be an interesting team to watch here in the next few years.
I totally agree, and I think last couple of weeks, I know they just lost obviously, but I think the Dragons are hitting that stride and really like showing like why we're so high on them. Which means I know they finished the schedule with a huge game against Casa Grande, obviously. Mm-hmm. So that could be a very solid. Say they beat Justin Siena this week, are in playoffs. That could be a very solid last season test before playoffs for the Dragons to really see how far they've come this season.
Yeah, how they stack up. Totally.
But yeah, good. I mean, heck of an effort there from Sonoma Valley. Vintage pulls it out. But yeah, let's stick in the VVAL, Gus, here. Petaluma 64, Napa 38, 4th straight win for the Trojans. If you were going to talk to us after the first quarter, you wouldn't have expected this score. It was 7-6 after the first quarter, and then Petaluma went on a 36-12 run in the second to kind of put the game away early. Chase Miller, 156 yards, 2 TDs. This is the most points Petaluma has scored in a game since dropping 76 back in 2016. 218 points last 4 games, 382 rushing yards per game in the last 4. They're running. I mean, their offense has been clicking since that loss to Maria Carrillo, the game that you covered. But I mean, yeah, I mean, this is what we want. I mean, both. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but Casa did their job. Petaluma did their job. Both teams are rolling headed into the Egg Bowl. So, Casa Grande, Petaluma, fourth straight win for the Trojans, guys.
Yeah, I mean, not much else to talk about that. I think we'll talk more about Petaluma and Casa kind of for our game of the week preview here. But yeah, I mean, again, 4 wins in a row after that Korea loss. I mean, they're undefeated in league. Yeah, I mean, we have an undefeated matchup here in the Egg Bowl. And pretty much, I think for the VFL title, I mean, I think that we've gone from this being a 4-team race to this really being a 2-team race, I think, at this point with Casa and Petaluma. So kind of a de facto league championship coming up this week. So yeah, Petaluma's been rolling, which is really impressive, kind of considering too that we're late in the season and they only have like 25 guys in their team. So I mean, again, like knocking on wood here for those guys, but it's like, yeah, health is, they've said it's like they'll be successful if they can be healthy, and so far they've been pretty healthy. So
Coach Chris always finds a way, man. He always finds a way to work with those guys.
All right, last game we're going to touch on some 8-man action. Rosen University Prep 46, Cornerstone Christian 40. RUP, man. So actually, this is funny. They're undefeated now because apparently, according to Max Preps, Crystal Springs Upland, the one team that beat RUP, actually had to forfeit that game. So I'm not sure what happened there, but Crystal Springs now has a couple forfeit losses on their schedule. So RUP is undefeated right now, 8-0.
That definitely threw us for a loop before we recorded. We were like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what happened there, but no, I mean, this was probably one of the biggest wins that RUP has had this season. I mean, Cornerstone Christian and RUP were the top 2 teams over in the NCL 3. And now RUP has the inside track here to win the league title. They have one game left. They're 4-0 in league. Mm-hmm. And again, this is a team that we've talked about about this repeatedly, but they've only had a football program for like 5 or 6 years now. So I know they won the league title last year too. I think they might have won that via tiebreaker. I don't remember exactly, but this year, I mean, again, 8-0, 7-1, whatever you want to call it, but 4-0, in league play. And I mean, they're probably going to be. I mean, again, they're going to be hosting a first-round playoff game. I don't know where they stack up right now in 8-man football. I mean, I think they're probably middle of the pack because the NCL 2 I think is a bit better with like Branson and Stuart Hall,
sure.
Those teams. But still, I mean, best season in RUP history, no doubt.
Yeah.
And this game kind of came down to the wire too. I mean, it was RUP was down 26-24 at half. Both teams kind of trade touchdowns, for the entire second half, and then Noah Rowland had a game-winning touchdown with 2 minutes left. So, kind of dramatic finish for this one too. On the road at Cornerstone Christian over in Antioch. So yeah, huge win for RUP. Hector Marufo. Hope again pronunciations. Hope I got that one right. 227 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. We had interceptions from Darian Hammer. And then. Just a really, really solid win for RUP. I believe they finish up the season. Yeah, they have 2 games left. They're playing Potter Valley this Saturday, and then they're at Laytonville. I don't think that the Laytonville game is a league play. It is a league game. Yeah, so two league games to finish it out. I believe we haven't quite done the scenarios yet for this yet, but I think RUP just needs 1 win to clinch it, because they've beaten John Sweat, who's in second place. They've beaten Cornerstone Christian, who's in second place.
I think so too.
So I think 1 win clinches it. So RUP still rolling right now. Love to see it.
Real quick, but it is pretty cool to see how that turnaround has been over the past couple of years. Obviously, you did the story on them last year, and that was really fun to read, and I'm sure it was fun to write because just of how they're doing. Let's move on. We got some. We're not going to do a full breakdown of the playoffs and projections. If you want to see that, you can head over to last week's episode. But there are some changes through the divisions. Gus, let's just there are a few things we want to highlight. So Gus,
Yeah.
let's just start with D2 for you.
Yeah, so not like again, we did a kind of a full breakdown last week looking at, all the local teams in divisions 2 through 7, kind of possible playoff scenarios, seeing where the rankings stand now, looking at, how things could kind of play out. We're not going to do a full thing like that again this week, but definitely a few things in a couple of the divisions that we do kind of want to keep an eye on. And I think we'll do this next week too, because this is kind of interesting, kind of looking at how things are playing out.
And we are getting closer. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So just kind of like looking at projections and stuff right now is kind of fun. So starting in D2, I think El Cerrito probably has that number 1 seed all wrapped up. El Cerrito took on De La Salle, had a game canceled last minute last week, and El Cerrito had a bye and said, hey, we'll play. So De La Salle, won unsurprisingly, but El Cerrito, I think, kept it pretty close. I think within 2 or 3 touchdowns. Yep. So El Cerrito, again, I think even if Windsor beats Newman at the end of the year, I think El Cerrito has the number 1 seed all wrapped up. So, Windsor is looking like a pretty solid lock, I'd say, at 2. Rancho Cotati is probably on the hunt now, or they're probably looking more likely for a first round road playoff game. They're probably not going to jump Redwood because Redwood has that win over them. But yeah, Rancho also they finished out the regular season with them, and I believe it's Montgomery this week, Montgomery this week, and then Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa.
Yeah. So they should, again, barring something crazy, they should finish the year 6-4. They probably be, again, I think they will be a playoff team. But yeah, they're probably going to be playing on the road in the first round. Could be a rematch against Redwood, which this point of the year could be kind of interesting. So we'll see how that goes. But same thing with Vintage too. Vintage is kind of there on the bubble, but I believe they play Napa this week in big game actually, which is like
a big game.
Well, historically this is like one of the old like top 50 like oldest rivalries, I want to say, in the country as far as high school football games go. Just like a really kind of classic, inner, 2 high schools in one town, kind of the whole town comes out. Definitely kind of a cool big thing out there. So that's coming up. But actually, that game will have a lot of playoff implications for Vintage.
So it is a big game.
Vintage right now is 0-1 in their division, and Napa is in Division 2. So a win there would make them playoff eligible, which they kind of need right now because at this point they're not. They're 3-5 overall. Actually, sorry, they are, because they're 2-2 right now in league. So Vintage probably will be a playoff team, but they do but again, that win over Napa, again, while it might not be huge for like schedule standing or, for like strength of schedule or whatever, but just for division and helping their playoff resume, it definitely will help. Yeah. So, that's kind of all we got over there for Division 2. Over to Division 3. This one was interesting this week, actually.
This division is crazy, man.
This is a pretty wild division, I will say. I think the D3 playoffs will certainly be, I think it's pretty top heavy right now with Marin Catholic and Newman still at 1 and 2, but there are some there. I mean, again, we said last week there's like sleepers in every, in every division, but it really seems like in D3 there could be multiple sleepers here. So again, Marin Catholic still 1, Newman still 2. Las Lomas I believe they were 4 last week, 4 or 5, and they're all the way up to 3 now. They beat Campolindo last week 45-42, I think, shootout. So they're all of a sudden up to 3. They're undefeated also, by the way. And they have a couple of big games here at the end of their schedule that, say Newman were to lose to Windsor. Las Lomas still plays Acalanes this week, and they finish out with Miramonte. Acalanes is the number 2 team in Division 4. Miramonte is the number 1 team in Division 5. If Las Lomas finishes out the season undefeated and wins that league, and Newman has a loss to Windsor, I don't think it'd be too much of a stretch to say that Las Lomas gets that number 2 seed. So either way, Newman is still looking like very, very much on track for a first round home game. But yeah, Casa Grande slips down to 4. Again, they're still in line for a first round home game. But if they win the VVAL too, which they could get closer to doing that, yeah. If they beat Petaluma this week, they would also host. So, and then again, Marin Catholic, I think, is a shoo-in for hosting that. Actually, that's not true at all because, I think they're a shoo-in for number 1, but I wouldn't say the MCAL is by any means a a done race yet with San Marin, where with that San Marin Catholic game kind of set for a couple weeks. So, yeah, I mean, again, top of the chain could maybe move around a bit. I don't see Marin Catholic losing that number 1 seed. Maybe some movement at 2, 3, possibly maybe 4, 5. The other interesting one too was that Ukiah, I think, was at 8 last week after their win. They're up to 7. Newman, Ukiah, looking at, we're staring at that matchup again here.
They just Ukiah and American Canyon just flip-flopped.
Yep.
American, which is pretty crazy.
So again, we've been talking about that possible, Cronin versus his old school matchup, I think, for the last couple weeks here, and we're on track at this point. So, and again, I think Ukiah should take care of business this week against Piner. Newman will take care of business this week against who are they playing? Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa. Yeah, they'll take care of business this week. Then again, it's all going to come down to that kind of that last game against Windsor again. So should be fun. I think D3 could be very interesting coming here down the stretch.
Yeah, watch out for don't take your eyes off Los Lomas, ladies and gentlemen.
They're coming on super strong right now.
And to your point, that is a strong schedule to end with too. Acalanes and Miramonte, as far as resumes go, that is.
Los Lomas has some very, very quality wins right now. I mean, they beat Vintage by 2 scores. They outlasted Tamalpais in overtime, 27-26. They beat Alhambra, who's one of the I believe Alhambra is top 4 team in Division 5. Benicia is on the outside looking in over, I think, like the 3 or 4 or something, D2. They're not great. Their resume is pretty good. Good win over Northgate. Good win over College Park, good win over Concord, and then again, Campolindo is for sure their marquee win there. But yeah, I mean, again, Acalanes and Miramonte to finish. So just a Las Lomas kind of not coming out of nowhere, but I think that Campo win definitely turned some heads. It was like, okay, Las Lomas, here they come. So.
D3, everyone's focus obviously is on Marin Catholic Newman. So it allows teams to kind of fly under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do still think that it. I mean, again, I still think it is going to be Marin Catholic Newman for that D3 title game, but maybe there are some other people who are throwing the rings in the hats now. So we'll see.
D4?
Moving on quickly to D4, kind of similar standings as last week. San Marin 1, Acalanes 2, Petaluma 3, Vallejo 4, Maria Carrillo at 5, Del Norte at 6, Tennyson at 7, although I don't think Tennyson is actually playoff eligible right now. Kennedy Fremont 5 and 2. Piner beat Novato last week, which is a big win for them as far as playoff standings go. No, Piner took care of business as they should. But yeah, Piner's now playoff eligible. I mean, again, they're 4-4. So again, in playoff eligible standards, if you don't know, you have to have a 500 record, either overall, in league play, or against teams in your division. So if you have one of those 3, then you're playoff eligible for an at-large bid. So Piner now 4-4 on the year, 1-1 against Division 4 teams. Again, that win over Novato, another Division 4 team, was definitely big as far as their playoff hopes go. But again, they're still on the outside looking in. They have a tough game this week against Ukiah, and then they play Healdsburg to finish. So they probably should go 1-1, I think, to finish that out. So their fate might rest in whether any of those bubble teams, drop any more games, or they might kind of have to. I don't think they're going to have control of their own destiny. I think is what I'm trying to say here. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. But one fun thing that we could see is so Maria Carrillo this week does play. They have a non-league game against St. Mary's Albany. I think St. Mary's is Division 6. I want to say 5.
I think 5.
Let me just double check that.
I think it's 5.
No, it's Division 6. So not a huge game as far as I mean, again, big game just because a win for Carrillo in that would definitely help them as far as their playoff resume goes. But right now they're number 5 seed overall in Division 4. They're 4-4 overall. Again, they finished with St. Mary's this week, and then St. Vincent next week. So even if they go 2-2 in league, they'll still be eligible. Even if they finish 4-6 overall, they'll still be eligible. So I think Carrillo probably, and again, they are also 2-0 against other Division 4 teams. So I think Carrillo is going to be will be a playoff team. And again, depending on how Petaluma finishes the season out, and I guess depending on how both teams finish the season out, we could see a Petaluma Carrillo rematch in the first round. So That was a weird game. That was a weird game.
Cover that one again, Gus?
Yeah, Korea won 42-21, and since then both teams have gone in opposite directions. Petaluma's been great, and Korea has not been so good. So, kind of a matchup that we're still like scratching our heads about what that meant. So, but we could kind of get a fun rematch in that one in the first round. So, yeah, that is Division 4 for you, but it's looking like we'll have probably 2 for sure playoff teams over there, and maybe one more if Piner can get lucky and sneak in. So
Sonoma County football as a whole is actually pretty good this year.
It's not bad.
Yeah, could see a good amount of representation in the playoffs. Sorry, Gus, go ahead.
Like,
D5.
Yeah, I think there's like 100 NCS teams, and then there's, how many is that? 56, almost over half of them make the playoffs. So yeah, and it looks like we'll have maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but we only have like what, 14. I mean, actually, shoot, with the Napa schools, we have like 20 some schools. I want to say now 20. So it's looking like we probably have maybe over half of those making it in. So that's definitely pretty cool. All right. Quickly, I don't think we'll spend much time on D6 or D7 just because those ones aren't really changing too much. But Division 5, Annalee is all the way up to number 3 right now. I think they were number 4 last week. Yeah, they currently trail. So Miramonte is number 1. St. Bernard's from Eureka is number 2. Yeah, Division 5 maybe not the strongest division this year. Annalee is. Yeah, Annalee is again third seed at 5-3. Alhambra's 4th seed at 6-1. San Rafael is 5 at 5-3. Sonoma Valley, no, it's typo there. Sonoma Valley 6 at 3-5. Justin Siena is 7 at 4-4. Terra Linda is 8 at 4-4 as well. So I don't think Annalee is going to beat Windsor, but they do play Montgomery to finish the season out. So, and I think if they can beat Montgomery, I mean, I think that they'll probably be a top 4 seed in Division 5 and host a first round playoff game. So definitely big for an Annalee team that we kind of thought was like, hey, maybe a rebuilding year or something. But they've shown some fight, and they have some good young pieces, and they have been pretty competitive in some games. So they may be in line for a first round playoff game in a favorable matchup. But we mentioned this earlier too, with Sonoma Valley and Justin Siena playing in a pretty big playoff implication game here. Kind of a must-win game, I guess you could call it. For both. Sonoma Valley, hosts or plays Justin this week, and then they play Casa to finish the season out, which the Casa game, will be a very tough game for them to win. But Justin, I think, is a very winnable game. On the flip side, Justin plays, after Sonoma Valley this week, they play at American Canyon, the week after. So again, both teams are kind of in this boat where they have to win this game to probably make it in. So must win for both of them. Actually, maybe not so much for Justin. I mean, Justin is 2-0 right now in their division. So even finishing out the year, with 2 losses, they're going to have overall a losing record in, overall and in league play. But 2-1, against their division still gives you a shot to make it in. So I'd probably say more on the line here for Sonoma Valley, which is, 1-1 overall, against their division, 3-5 on the year, and then 1-3 in league. So realistically, we're looking at, a Sonoma team that could finish 4-6 overall, 2-4 in league play. But if they're 2-1, against their division, I think they get in. So definitely a big game coming up for these two teams, just, heading into the postseason. But I would love to see, Sonoma Valley kind of make it in for the second straight years. I think it had been like 4 or 5 years since they had made it in before last season. So a couple teams also we could see sneak in over there in Division 5. But quickly on D6 and D7, not much has changed. St. Vincent, despite the loss, still number 1. Clear Lake still rolling in Division 7 at 8-0. I don't think there's much to really to talk about this, but yeah, I mean, both teams are still pretty much on track for first round playoff games. So, I mean, again, I think we'll do this again for the next couple of weeks. Well, actually, I mean, really, I mean, it's next week, and then that's kind of it, really. So, because then we have our playoffs meeting coming out on November 5th, I want to say it is. So, we'll definitely know more about where teams are stacking up. But yeah, we'll do this one more time next week and kind of look at one final projection of all this stuff. Before everything finishes up and we get into playoffs. So, all right. Thanks for bearing with us through that again. But
Let's
last couple things here. Transitioning over to week 9.
Yep. So let's go to
Sorry,
our
week
rankings now.
10. Week 10.
Week 10. Yeah. Let's go to our rankings now here, Gus. Read them off real quick, and then we'll give you our rationale. So, number 1 is Cardinal Newman. They stay put at number 1. Windsor stays put at number 2. Casa Grande stays put at number 3. Rancho Cotati stays put at number 4. Ukiah jumps all the way from the bubble or unranked or wherever they were to that 5 spot. Petaluma drops down to 6. St. Vincent does stay pat at 7. On the bubble here, American Canyon drops out of the rankings. Vintage and Montgomery joins the Wolves in the bubble. Gus, we had a pretty lengthy discussion about what the heck to do with Ukiah, because Ukiah's had many times has had a case to be put in the top 7 rankings for weeks on end, but we just didn't know where to put him. Originally, I think the decision was to put him at 6, but then Gus brought up a good point that Ukiah absolutely destroyed Carrillo, who ended up destroying Petaluma. Well, not destroying, but beating Petaluma. So that's why we kind of had them jump up to that 5 spot and have Petaluma drop down to 6. But Gus, also one more thing I want to talk about is before I give it over to you is congratulations, Casa Grande, breaking that curse of the 3 team. And they did it in fashion as well. So there's no curse of the 3 team clearly, but I think our top 3 teams are pretty set at this point in the season right now. Obviously things could change. But yep, just a pretty big change on the back end of our rankings, Gus.
Yeah, I mean, Ukiah, again, like you said, I think they've had a case to be in for the last couple weeks, and it's just been like, where do we put them with American Canyon playing well? With Vintage kind of also, up there playing decently, and then, the last couple weeks have at least switched some things up. But yeah, I mean, again, like you said, I think we, looking at Ukiah and Petaluma, and then even in the NCS rankings, I think it's like, Ukiah is like 1 spot over Petaluma, but Ukiah has strength of schedule favored for sure. And then again, I think it was that, the tiebreaker there was that Carrillo result, because, like you said, Ukiah beat him, handled Carrillo pretty good, and then Carrillo handled Petaluma pretty good. So I think that's a good kind of tiebreaker right there. But, again, Petaluma went over Casa, that'll shoot him up, I think Ukiah should probably, end the season out pretty well, especially playing Piner. But yeah, yeah, I think you're right, though. I think, again, outside of the top 2, I don't think anyone's safe, I'll be honest. I think this is just kind of a big revolving, a big revolving door here from 3 to 7. But yeah, interesting kind of how it's played out the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I think that's about as good as we can do for a ranking. I don't know if anyone can't complain about that, but I'm sure people will find a way to. So
yeah, everyone does.
Everyone does. All right, onto our predictions preview. I think we're gonna probably keep it pretty light on the preview stuff this week. There's not a ton of great games, and I think we've talked about some of the other ones, already. We are gonna go in depth a bit about the Egg Bowl for sure. But yeah, outside of that, I think it's a pretty tame slate, I'd say, for week 10. But looking at week 9 predictions, Keenan, you and I both same records again, 11-3 overall. We had our 14 games. I got the Ukiah St. Vincent game right. I did, however, get the Justin Siena and St. Patrick's game wrong, and both of us got the South Fork Calistoga game wrong. So 11-3. Again, we're coming down to listen, as exciting as the league races are, who could ever forget about how exciting the race is between our predictions this year? This is as exciting as it gets.
Oh my
V-Val race. Listen, Egg Bowl, Windsor Newman, who cares? This is Morris O'Doherty down to the final weeks for the
listen. I will say this, because last year was obviously my first year doing it. I guess yours as well, but you knew the area a little bit better than I did. So I was pleased with my performance last year. But how things change in a year's time, Gus. So
you put in that off-season work, that training, you really hit the gym.
Yep, 100%, man. I'll tell you what. So yeah, let's head into week 10, like you said. Game of the week. You will be there. Your game of the week coverage, Casa Grande at Petaluma, Saturday, 3 p.m. we're both going Casa Grande here. But if there's one thing we know about the Egg Bowl, and we said this last year, is no matter what the records are between the teams, it's going to be a great game. Both teams come to play for the Egg Bowl. It's the first time in the VVAL era that both schools are coming in the Egg Bowl undefeated in league play. So in the VVAL play, Casa. I was there last year. Casa won on a last second trick play, double pass from Wyatt Abramson to Lucas Miles to Spencer Almond. And yeah, Costa's 4-2 since the Egg Bowl came back in 2017. But I mean, this could be one of the most anticipated Egg Bowls in recent memory, recent history. Gus, what do you think?
I think all the Egg Bowls have been pretty well remembered. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we've had one with kind of stakes like this in a while. I mean, again, I'm not an Egg Bowl expert or anything. But it does seem like in the last couple of years, like this is one of the this is the stage is set for one of the bigger ones for sure. Especially again coming off what happened last year. I mean, again, that was a game too that we kind of thought, that was last year was a funny year where it really felt like a 3-4 team race with Petaluma was in it for a while and Casa was in it for a while, and then after that Egg Bowl, I think Petaluma ended up losing like I think 3 of their last 4, to end the season, and then
they came in 7-1 that year.
Yeah, and then Casa I think stumbled a bit too. I mean, even after that game, I think they lost to American Canyon, after that or something. So definitely, again, I mean, the classic cliche, but throw out the record books, when these two teams play, this could be, anyone's game here. Going to be a crazy atmosphere again. You were at the game last year, packed stands, kids throwing off, not flares, but what are those like, the like colorful flares or whatever they got going on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The like chalk powder or whatever stuff.
Chalk
yeah,
powder.
that was kind of cool.
It's at Petaluma this year too, which is a nice cozy little stadium too. So it
should be a super fun environment, definitely. I mean, again, Saturday afternoon too. The entire town's going to be out there. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a super fun matchup. I'm like just kind of smiling, just thinking about it. It's gonna be so much fun.
I know this guy's got a little giddy.
I'm excited.
These kind of matchups.
Yeah, man. But I mean, again, a couple stories here for sure. A couple storylines. I mean, Casa Grande's defense has for sure been one of the big storylines of the year. I mean, again, outside of they gave up 24 points in garbage time, last week, but to hold the American Canyon to 6 points is stupendous. And I think that's probably why I think both of us are going Casa in this one, is because of how good their defense has been this year. I mean, holding Vintage to 22 points, holding, American Canyon to 6 points again before garbage time. I mean, I don't have all their stats up here, like right in front of me, in front of me, but yeah, I mean, again,
Ukiah to 15 at Ukiah too.
Yeah, and I mean, again, before the Vintage game, I mean, they had only allowed like 26 points or like 28 points, I think, over their like 5 previous games. So like, their defense is legit. Now, again, I don't know if they've played. I guess they did play a run heavy team like this in Newman, in the first game of the year, and I think Newman kind of ran all over them, but. Again, it's been 2 months since then. I think Casa's defense really has really improved. I think that's probably why we're giving them both the edge, is because of how good their defense has been. And again, Petaluma's offense is super run heavy, just like Vintage's. I know that they kind of, Vintage, I guess it wasn't it wasn't the most I guess defensively technical game for Casa, but they still found a way to get out a win there. But I think that's probably when we're looking at comparable results, I think that's probably going to be the one team that we can look at and be like, all right, how is Casa going to stack up against Petaluma? Well, how do they stack up against Vintage? And again, Vintage for sure got some yardage on him, ran the ball pretty well, didn't pass the ball very much, just like Petaluma does, but I mean, again, Casa found a way to win. So now I do think that all that being said, Petaluma's offense has been otherworldly the last month.
Yeah.
Like you said too, 218 points the last 4 games, almost 400 rushing yards per game over that same span. Like those are video game numbers, crazy. And maybe not the best competition for sure, but still, like we kind of said about Newman, they're beating, or Casa, they're beating lesser teams, how good teams should. So, I mean, again, these are 2 teams that are rolling right now, super hot. Petaluma's again 4-game winning streak. Casa's on a 7-game winning streak right now, I want to say. and again, it all comes down to this essentially, for the VVAL title. Casa finishes out, I think after this with Justin Siena, or I'm sorry, with Sonoma Valley, and then Petaluma has Vintage to finish it out too. So two kind of different ways to wrap the season. But I mean, shoot, if Casa can get through this gauntlet on 3-0, give him the title for sure. Give him the title. I mean, beating Vintage, beating American Canyon, beating Petaluma. Yeah, VVAL title's yours. Congratulations, Casa. But again, gotta get through them first on Saturday. So, I don't know. I'm expecting. I mean, like, this is a hard game to predict the score. I feel like.
I'm not predicting anything.
This is a hard. Come on. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun.
No. This is insane. This is, but this is so exciting. I'm very excited for this matchup. Casa, like you just mentioned about the whole 3-0 gauntlet thing, the schedule makers making Casa earn it, making them earn the title. But it is funny now that I think about it on how things have flipped, where last year it was Petaluma coming into this game 7-1, and now this year Casa's coming in 7-1. Petaluma still is 6 and what are they? 4, 6 and
Petaluma right now? They're 6-2 right now.
6-2. Sorry. 6-2. Sorry, I knew they had 6 wins. But yeah, this is the stakes are just so high, man. I'm serious. I might just come out just to watch, just like I did St. Vincent last week. But like you said, the whole town is going to be out. This is what it is, and Petaluma's got a nice little compact, cozy stadium there, so atmosphere should be rocking. And yeah, I think I think in terms of what we talk about the clash of styles a little bit, obviously the Petaluma secondary versus Casa passing attack, that's going to be huge because Danny Mercado has passed for over 1,600 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That ratio is pretty darn good. So lots of factors and lots of key matchups in here that we're going to keep an eye on for sure. But yeah, man. Like you said, we're both giving Casa the edge here, but at the same time, it's the Egg Bowl, so who knows?
Yeah, so Cal Preps has Casa as a 2-touchdown favorite, and I do not think it's that big of a margin.
Have they seen an Egg Bowl before?
Apparently not. So, I do think that. Again, I'm like. The way that Petaluma likes to operate its offense, a lot of kind of time-consuming plays. Casa loves to pass the ball. So points, I don't know. Good defense against a good defense. Like, I have no idea what to expect in this game. So, but again, I think we're both going Casa, just because of how good their defense has been this year. But yeah, again, unstoppable force meets it's an immovable object. So we'll see how this goes.
As the saying goes. All right. Well, let's head on to our other predictions. Obviously, that's the marquee game of the week, I would say, on this week's slate. No doubt about it. Next one up, let's go NBL Oak, Gus, Cardinal Newman at Santa Rosa, Friday, 7 p.m. Cardinal Newman, I don't think there's much to say about this one. Gus, what do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm going through all of our predictions now. I think we have all the same predictions, just because I think these are all pretty again, outside of Casa Petaluma, I think everything else is a pretty lopsided game, including this one. Yeah, I think Newman rolls them pretty easy, and heads into the Windsor game undefeated.
Rancho Cotati at Montgomery, Friday, 7 p.m. We'll see if Jacob Perutta's gotten any healthier since the game that you covered on Friday. But regardless, Rancho is just their coaching staff is just so disciplined, so good at coming up with game plans and everything. Rancho Cotati in this one.
Yeah, Rancho's lost 2 in a row, and they haven't lost 3 in a row. And man, I have to go back and really check. But I don't think anyone really thought that Rancho would be 4-4 at this point of the year. But I think the skid stops now. Rancho knows what's at stake here these last couple of weeks. If they lose either of these games, I don't think they're going to lose to Santa Rosa. But if they lose to Montgomery, probably out of the playoffs. So they know that they have to win this game, and I think that they step up and perform. So yeah, Rancho.
Yeah, Annalee at Windsor. Annalee's got some good young talent. Obviously, Ben Stewart's been running the ball pretty well, but I just think Windsor's a different beast at this time of the season, and Windsor.
Yeah, Windsor is the better team here. No offense to Annalee, but I think that they would probably also agree. So, yeah, Windsor in this one.
St. Vincent versus Healdsburg. St. Vincent is going to be pissed off, and I'm sorry, I guess, that they have to take it out on your Greyhounds. St. Vincent in this one. Do you want to do a score prediction on this one, Gus?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. Yeah, no, that's yeah, St. Vincent. I have nothing else.
Although I will say, credit to you, Gus, because you went against the grain last week by picking against St. Vincent, and it paid off. So credit credit to you, Gus. There. Pioneer at Ukiah. This up in Ukiah. Could Ukiah have a hangover after that big win? I don't know, but no. I don't think it's going to happen. Ukiah in this one.
Yeah, senior night, all, final regular season home game. Yeah, Ukiah again, 1 win away from clinching their first league title in 40 years. They're gonna take care of business here and yeah, bring home the pennant.
St. Helena at Fort Bragg. St. Helena coming off that pretty huge win last week over Cloverdale. I think they keep it rolling. I think St. Helena in this one.
Yeah, I think St. Helena is just a better team. Cloverdale, just not again, teams go through up and down years, but yeah, I think St. Helena is just a better squad right now. So yeah, St. Helena in this one.
All right, Gus, we teased this one a little bit when we were talking about the playoffs, but Justin Siena at Sonoma Valley, Friday, 7 p.m. We're both going with the Dragons in this one. We think kind of similar to Rancho. They know what's at stake, and I think they get the win over here.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, again, I think this will be a close game. I think both teams kind of know what they're fighting for. And then again, this game's at Sonoma Valley. I believe this might be Sonoma Valley's senior night too. I mean, again, I never, I always try to give, put some weight onto these, like, oh, it's not their senior night. They have one more home game, but those emotional games, I think, teams, players always try to, get up for those games too. So. Not senior night though, but I still think Sonoma Valley has I mean, I think they're rolling, and we've been high on them, and I don't, we're going to stay high on them. So I think they take care of business against Justin Siena, and yeah, punch their ticket to the playoffs.
Yep. All right, the big game, Vintage versus Napa, Friday at 7 p.m. At Memorial Stadium. Is that what it's called? I think it's called.
Yep. Awesome venue.
Awesome venue. Both each end zone is one is Vintage, the other's Napa. It's been that way for years. Anyways. Both going Vintage in this one. I think Vintage gets another one in the big game. Although I will say I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people think because Napa is pretty frisky. I don't know if that's saying much, but I don't know how close. But I do think it's going to be closer than in years past.
I don't know. I mean, like closer than 70-7, like it was 2 years ago, maybe. But I still think Vintage is a much better team. They've won 7 in a row in this rivalry. None have been within a touchdown since 2017. So I think that stretch of dominance keeps going. And also, I think that they're, like you kind of mentioned about St. Vincent being pissed off after their loss. I think Vintage is going to be looking to kind of get rid of that bad taste in their mouth after that, nearly losing to Sonoma Valley last week. So I think that they take care of business big time in this one.
Yeah. Okay. St. Mary's, Albany at Maria Carrillo, Friday, 7 p.m. We're both going St. Mary's in this one. We're not sure. I picked Carrillo a lot and they've let me down, so I'm not making the mistake again. So let's do I'm going St. Mary's. Albany, you're going the same.
This is a matchup that has not fared super well for Korea the last couple years. I don't know. I feel I might pull one of my patented switcheroos here.
Now it's patented, dude.
Patented switcheroos. I'm gonna change it up. I'm going Korea actually. In this one. Also because we have every single pick the exact same, and that's no fun. So
no, that's a good point.
I think this will be a bit, closer than it seems. Also, it's like which Korea team is going to show up. They've been so Jekyll and Hyde this year, but they're coming off of again, a good win over Healdsburg 35-0. So,
sure.
I don't know. I mean, again, they're also kind of fighting for their playoff lives here a bit. I mean, I think that even the loss here, they get in, but I know that Jay Higgins that's not where his mind's at. He's thinking we have to win out here, boys. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Korea does pull this one out. I mean, again, if good Carrillo shows up, I think they win pretty well. But if not, yeah, might be a tough night.
All right. South Fork and Elsie Allen, Friday at 6 p.m. Last week we had no clue whether South Fork was an 8-man team, 11-man team, whatever the heck they were. Well,
Yeah, that's
they
true.
they came around and went crazy. So that's not going to change this week. Sorry, Elsie Allen, but South Fork in this one.
I still need to figure out what the hell is happening with this
You
South Fork
still have
team.
no idea.
I mean, again, we talked about this last week, but they literally played their first 5 games of the year were against 11-man teams, and their
It's
last
like a
3 games of the
hybrid
year have been
schedule.
against
I don't know
8-man
what it
teams.
is.
I've never seen a team switch from 11-man to 8-man in a season before, but
What is their record? Their record's
they're 2-6. So they do have a loss to your Stewart Hall boys in their first game of 8-man, but then they also lost all their other 11-man games. But yeah, they shut out Tamales. They blew out Calistoga last week, and I think they keep rolling. I mean, again, LC is just tough kind of first season back for football, and
for sure.
South Fork is just a better program right now. So yeah, South Fork.
Speaking of my Knights, baby, Stewart Hall at Calistoga, man. I'm getting spoiled with how many times you're putting them in the predictions, even though it's only been twice. But Stewart Hall at Calistoga, Friday, 6 p.m. Stewart Hall has been the class of 8-man football, or one of the top teams for a while, or at least as far as I can remember. And Calistoga. Not the program they used to be. Still a great 8-man program, but Stewart Hall is on that on that upper tier of 8-man football. So Stewart Hall in this one.
Yeah, nothing else to say really. Stewart Hall is I think they're the top rated 8-man team in the section right now. So
yeah, they just beat Branson too.
No, that's huge. So yeah, keep rolling there, Stewart Hall.
Yeah. Sorry, Pond, but we own you this year. Okay.
No, next Pond is over at he's at Sonoma now. You know that, right?
Oh no, I know, but
okay.
Yeah, trust me, we had a chat earlier on
the
season
about
Branson Stewart Hall. So sorry, we got this one, Max. All right, Cloverdale at Novato, Saturday at 2 p.m. A little Saturday game for Cloverdale, because I forgot, I don't think Novato has lights on their field. But Cloverdale lost to St. Helena last week. Piner Piner beat Novato last week. So I think Cloverdale on this one. I'm giving the Eagles a win here. Gus, and seems like you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, again, like we said, kind of tough sledding here for for Cloverdale this year. They lost to Piner by 19 early on this year, but Nevada lost to Piner by like 50 last week. So, this is for sure a winnable game for Cloverdale, and I'm gonna say they win this one.
I think so too. I think it's also more of a homer pick too.
Yeah, I mean, winnable games there have not been many winnable games for Cloverdale this year, but I think this is one of them. So
I think so too. Yep. All right, let's end it with a Saturday 8-man game. Potter Valley at Roseland University Prep, Saturday at noon. RUP, man, we've been talking about them the last couple years. They're on this huge turnaround. They're now undefeated. That we talked about earlier on. I think they stay that way, and I think they wrap up the championship here if not this week, the next week. So
I agree with you. I agree with you here. I mean, I think they're rolling. I mean, again, I think they know that a win probably clinches them, the league title, and I think they're going to come out fired up. And I think they're a better team than Potter Valley. So for all those reasons, I'm going RUP.
Sweet. All right, that wraps up our football coverage for this episode. We do want to talk about some volleyball because the seedings and playoffs just came out on Sunday. But before I talk about that, a couple things we want to get off the chest from last week. Obviously, Ukiah and Windsor are your NBL champions in volleyball. Windsor took down Colonel Newman in a very entertaining 4-setter at Newman last week to clinch the outright title. I was at that game. Gus, you were over at Rancho Cotati, where Ukiah got their first volleyball league title in a while, right?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot here. I forgot how many years it's been. But yeah, I mean they've finished runner up to Rancho Cotati the last couple years. Then finally got over the hump this year. I believe they swept them. Wasn't even really that close. Um,
25-7 was the last.
Yeah, it was not. First set was kind of competitive, and then yeah, Ukiah. But I mean, again, Ukiah has been really, really good this year. They played a really tough schedule, but I mean, they only have 4 losses on the year. 2 of those are to Cardinal Newman. One of those is to Marin Catholic, and then one is to Foothill from Pleasanton, who's a very, very quality
Hmm.
team from a big school team actually too. And they've also beaten Windsor this year too during a tournament. So.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah. So Ukiah, I mean, again, I think it's all season. I think it's been Newman Windsor as like the 1-2, but Ukiah is very solidly in there at 3, and I think that's a pretty clear upper echelon for schools we have over here. But yeah, I mean Ukiah again, I put me on the spot here with last time they won a league title. I think it was 2017 or 2018. I want to say. But yeah, first year coaching for Katie Williams. Yeah, and she has Ukiah on top. So I believe, yeah. And so also, again, we'll have some, the NCS volleyball playoffs are starting up this week. I think we have like 20 local teams, from
A lot. Good.
Napa,
Yeah.
Sonoma, who have all made it. So, yeah, first
And
rounds.
Mendocino, I guess, because Ukiah made it. But
Sure, that's true. Yep. But yeah, I mean, we're recording this pod on about midday, October 24th, Tuesday. First round games are starting tonight. Second round or first round games start today and also tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we'll have I believe semifinal or quarterfinals, I think, following on Friday and Saturday. Or am I making that
I
up?
think
What's the
so.
schedule? Something like that. And then yeah, semifinals and championship games will be next week. So. I think we're probably going to have a couple teams go pretty deep. I know that Newman, who was I mean, they won D4, I want to say 2 years ago. They are number 1 seed this year in Division 4 again, I
Yep.
think.
Yep. They play
Yeah,
they play St. Helena in a kind of a little localish matchup
yeah, there you go. And
there.
then Justin Siena is the number 2 seed over there. That should be fun. I believe Newman's beaten them a couple times this year. And then over in Division 2,
Which
Windsor
is
is
a gauntlet, by the way. That is a
Yeah, there's
tough
a lot of
division.
good teams. Branson is up there. I think Branson is like a top 10 team in the state. Um, yeah, Redwood, same thing. I think they're top 15, top 15 in the state, or at least top 25, I think. And then Windsor is also in there as well as the 3 seed. So definitely a tough road for Windsor to kind of end over
One
the D2. But
one matchup that could be interesting, and we'll have coverage from this tomorrow as well, is Maria Carrillo at American Canyon.
yeah.
That's a mouth-watering first round matchup. Ukiah welcomes Los Lomas. 6th seed. Ukiah got the 6th seed. They welcome the 11th seed Los Lomas
Mm-hmm.
to town. Windsor will take on number 14 Arroyo. Not many teams in Division One.
Santa
Vintage
Rosa, I think.
and
Yeah.
Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa's got to go all the way to the 2 seed Santa Rosa Valley. Vintage will go to the number 9 seed Castro Valley. Um, Although Vintage is seated higher, it seems like Castro Valley won the league title, so that gives them the benefit of hosting a first round matchup there. Division 3, Annalise, the 11th seed, going to the 6th seed Terra Linda. Petaluma, the 12th seed, had a phenomenal turnaround this year after last year. So good on Petaluma. They will go to number 5, San Marin. Rancho Cotati, number 13, will go to number 4, Acalanes. 14, Pioneer will go to number 3, Archie Williams. So definitely some tough matchups for our local teams there in Division 3. Like you said, Gus, you kind of started on Division 4, but Carl Newman versus number 16, St. Helena. Number 2, Justin Siena will take on Pinole Valley. Number 12, Rosen Prep, RUP, will host actually St. Mary's of Albany. They were the 5 seed. But again, it looks like Rosen Prep won their league this year. And then D5, Cloverdale takes on Bentley. Sonoma Academy takes on Waldorf. Credo at Clear Lake. And then St. Vincent de Paul, the number 15 seed, will take the number 2 seed Bay School. Last division we have here, D6, number 10 Calistoga versus number 7 Holy Names, number 11 Technology versus number 6 California School for the Deaf. So, like you said, Gus, good representation from Sonoma County volleyball and beyond. Obviously, it's volleyball around here is getting a lot better. A lot of the coaches are sharing that same sentiment. So, we'll see how these teams fare in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of teams I don't know. I mean, again, like you said, I think volleyball is on the rise here. But I mean, that being said, I think it will be tough sledding for a lot of these teams in the first round. So we'll see how many kind of make it through these first couple days. But I mean, again, I think a few teams are for sure set up for some deep runs. So we'll have you covered, for all things that coming up here pretty soon. Over this next week and hopefully in the next as well. But yeah, I mean, this is we're kind of coming out of the final stretch here for all the fall sports. NCS girls golf championships. I think wrap up. NCS Division 1 is next week. D2 just finished last week. I think we have Newman girls finished second overall for the D2 title. Could not repeat, but Branson has had a really really good team this year, and they won by like 30-40 strokes. Like just kind of a runaway win for Branson. But we do have 3 individuals moving on. I think 2 from Newman, 1 from Healdsburg. To the D1 championship. So yeah, some more girls golf to watch from that, and then girls tennis, I believe, is also heading into the postseason as well. So, and I think water polo even too. I mean, again, we're kind of getting here in the into the nitty gritty stuff. But and then cross country as well. Last couple weeks here of the cross country regular season. I will be out at the MBL championships. I believe that's next week. Over at Spring Lake, some good, should be some really good running going on over there, heading into NCS, and then on to state championships in December. So
sure.
Hannah Thompson, keeping an eye on her for sure. Creo girls are performing, really well. Montgomery girls are also, having one of their best seasons in a long time. So, a number of good runners to kind of keep an eye out there. But oh man, just all that being said, we'll have you all covered, for all that stuff, going forward here, in the next couple of weeks and months, at PDPreps. And then crazy to think, Keenan, but we're literally like, man, 2 or 3 weeks away from basketball season starting up.
Oh gosh.
So one thing at a time here, but yeah, I know we're moving through these things pretty quickly at this point.
It always goes pretty fast, doesn't it? And it just never slows down. But one more thing to add. I'll be covering the NBL Girls Tennis Championships on this coming Friday, Saturday. It looks like Montgomery standout Caroline Beard is still playing, so she should have another crack at the NCS title. A title she lost in the final of the NCS individuals last year. So, yep. Lots of stuff going on, folks. We're getting to that time of the season, but we appreciate you all for sticking with us. As always, our Twitter usernames are going to be below posted, as well as the link to the site and everything like that. So again, thank you guys for watching, listening, however you consume this content. We really appreciate it. We like all the feedback we get, even if it's good or bad. But yeah, other than that, Gus, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.